Hello, everyone. When Kitty Pryde was originally released, we used Kitty Pryde alongside an unlikely duo that actually turned out to be one of our best decks, best performing decks, best average cubes per game over a pretty large sample size that we've had since we started using Untapped's deck tracker. Now, keep in mind, she was only released for about 36 hours before being disabled. And so the fact that we were able to secure that top slot, even to this day, the top slot in average cubes or net cubes gained is insane. And so originally it was using Kitty Pryde alongside a Killmonger to be able to destroy your opponent's powerful one-drop cards while retaining your priority Kitty Pryde. You could always maneuver in a way that you could drop Killmonger and then Kitty Pryde on turn 4 so that Kitty Pryde is safe and sound and you take out their big cards. Now, it also originally used a wave interaction that no longer functions. Absolutely bold font, capitalize. Do not try Kitty Pryde with wave. It no longer functions this way. But originally, you could play Kitty Pryde. You could then play wave. When Kitty Pryde returned to your hand, it would be after wave's cost change went into effect, and so she would stay at a 1 cost. That no longer works anymore. So don't try wave with Kitty Pryde. But in my original deck, we also leaned in on like a death combo and being able to use that Killmonger as a way to discount our death. And we just really leveraged that wave interaction with Kitty Pryde with death to be able to just burst power on the board. It no longer functions quite the same way, so we did have to rethink how this deck functions. But I do think death has a pretty cool role in a flood style deck. And so at the core, at the heart, this is a flood deck. We are going to be flooding a lot of cards on the board, playing a lot of power. If we anticipate a wave coming down, we of course want to flood as much as we can early, leaving just like a Kitty Pryde or just a Chavez or just a Death on the final turn of the game. But one of the coolest things with Moon Girl in this deck, by dropping the She-Hulk, we no longer have to skip and soak on turn 5 to enable our flood on turn 6. This affords us a couple of advantages. We no longer have that telltale telegraphed play where the opponent is immediately thinking they're going to drop a She-Hulk, maybe even 2 She-Hulks if they've played Moon Girl. And then it also allows us the flexibility if we draw Moon Girl late, if we need to position our hand and place a few of our resources to make sure that we copy the resources that we actually want to duplicate, we have that extra turn to do so. And so one of the biggest things with this deck is going to be hand management. A lot of our cards are going to generate additional things in our hand, and so our hand size is a lot of times going to be between 5 and 6 cards on any given turn, and that's before Moon Girl comes down. And so you're going to have to really think ahead and efficiently play your cards so that you're moving and maneuvering the cards that you want to duplicate closer and closer to the front of your hand, so that whenever you do play the Moon Girl, if you only duplicate 2 or 3 cards, which is really common, you're still going to hit those key or priority plays. And so overall, this deck offers a lot of burst. It offers a lot of surprise factor in being able to destroy the opponent's Kitty Pryde, destroy the opponent's Nebula, the opponent's Sunspot, all kinds of just phenomenal play paths with this deck. And as long as it's a surprise factor, this is one of the most fun decks that I've played to date. It doesn't quite have as high of a win rate as our original wave cheat cheese deck, but it is very close. I'm maintaining a little bit over a 60% win rate, and I'm going to play it a little bit further because this one is really fun and it's surprising. Whenever you have that element of surprise, that is where you can gain a lot of cubes. They are going to probably anticipate, if they see the Moon Girl or Kitty Pryde, they're going to anticipate potentially a Hit Monkey, but I don't know anybody that would ever anticipate seeing a Death or seeing a Killmonger. So sometimes you're going to take out their demons because they get a little bit comfy cozy when they see you're playing Kitty Pryde, Angela, Iceman, and they're going to assume that you don't have that Killmonger counter, and then all of a sudden you can swing a lot of power back in your favor. And so we're going to go ahead and jump over into a couple of games. I hope you guys enjoy. All right, next up we have Coco 4. And while I was, and they beat us not too long ago. They were able to beat us. Let's go ahead and start with the Kitty Pryde. We will then do probably Iceman plus Kitty Pryde on turn 2. And then on turn 3, we can do Angela plus Kitty Pryde. We want to prioritize getting Angela. We want to prioritize getting Kitty Pryde played as many times as possible. With Lemuria, I forgot. Kitty Pryde wasn't going to reveal last turn. Let's go ahead and do the Iceman. That will pull Kitty Pryde back in. We can eventually skip a turn playing Kitty Pryde and then get the double Kitty with our Moon Girl. maybe we can get enough destruction, especially with this being like a Thanos list. If I remember right, they were playing like a really lane control heavy Thanos build. So maybe we can get enough cards destroyed that get some good benefit. If not, we have the Kitty Pryde that is going to be free after we bounce it back into our hand. We have the Hood that we'll play and then bounce back into our hand. Actually, our hand is starting to get pretty full pretty quickly. Now, we have to worry about them having maybe like a Professor X. The Daredevil tells me it's very likely going to be some kind of Professor X lane control style build. I don't remember exactly what they were running. I do know that they I think they doubled down with like a Moon Girl. And then they had 2 Devil Dinos, or maybe just 1 Devil Dino. I don't know. They beat us with a Devil Dino. We do have our Kity Pryde pull back in. We now have our Killmonger, which is beautiful. Do we want to go ahead and... I don't know that we need to play our Hood more often. We could do this. Next turn, we could do Kity Pryde, Beast to bounce these back in. We could play Hood to generate a Demon. And we're not going to be able to double down with Moon Girl, but I do think we're going to get a very cheap death in this game. They do move their Hood over, and they destroy it with Carnage, which we're absolutely fine with. That is reducing the Death's power level drastically, and we also are going to clear the Time Stone, Mind Stone, and Power Stone. Death goes down to a 1-cost card. And so now I have to look at this and wonder, do we double down on the Kity Pryde? It might be worth doubling down on Kity Pryde instead of what we were planning on doing. I think that becomes a little bit too clunky, right? They have initiative, so they could lock us into a location or lock us out of a location. All right, we're going to do this. It's not the most cohesive play, but I think this is what we're going to go with. This leaves us open just in case they do use a Professor X. We get a little bit of wiggle room from that. We don't have to worry about Kity Pryde getting stuck on the board. The only downside is that we don't get our Killmonger back in our hand, but I think that's also probably okay. We're going to double down on the Death, which is beautiful. That's doubling down on the Death is that surprise factor. Since we're not skipping and soaking like the She-Hulk version, we can have that element of surprise. We get the big power in our Angela. We get the big Hit Monkey. We have the ability to potentially double down on those in some games if we get the right resources. But this one, we're just going to play it out as is with 2 deaths. All right, so they do go with a Devil Dino into Lemuria. They don't go with a lockdown style component. They go with a Devil Dino. So how do we navigate this in game? Do we stack 2 of our deaths here potentially? We don't have initiative. We don't have to worry about that. We could stack 2 deaths. We could do Kity Pryde here. We can do an Angela and a Hit Monkey. Pretty substantially sized Hit Monkey. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. So it becomes an 8-power card. A decent resource. And then 2 deaths are pretty substantial as well. Let's go ahead and go with that. We don't have to worry about the counterplay of like a Shang-Chi. Bishop is big. They flooded all into New York, though, interestingly enough. I'm guessing they were assuming that a big Devil Dino was going to be enough, but it's not. Oh, no, we blow it out of the water. The Soul Stone does make sure we lose New York. That's perfectly fine. We lose that one by 6. We win the other ones by such a wide margin. We break it wide open. We will absolutely take the 2 cubes. And while this death is a surprise factor, a surprise element, because we don't have to skip on turn 5, which is that telltale sign that a She-Hulk is coming, they're not necessarily going to be calculating for a death in most cases. Go ahead and take it. We'll jump over into the next one. All right. Next up, we have Wang 67th. The first location is Mojo World. So being able to flood on the last turn is going to be so big for us. Now, we have our Kity Pryde. We have our Angela. We have Moon Girl to potentially double down and lean in on, depending on what... And then this is another Thanos list, which is beautiful. The Thanos list just... I don't know if somebody covered it that has increased its popularity or what is going on, but it helps our death count so dramatically that we will gladly take it. I'm going to go ahead and do Yondu and then Kitty Pryde. We can then do something like maybe Angela into that same lane, depending on if we get our beast or not. If not, then we do have Moon Girl that we'll double down on. So the Soul Stone comes down in Baxter Building. We know we're going to clear that one. They change Mojo World with the Gravity Stone. It changes into Death's Domain, which is a little bit difficult, or would be a little bit difficult. But since we're going to be able to use Killmonger to destroy the Death's Domain, as long as we can win Baxter Building, we can win the game. And then we do get our death, which is so phenomenal. Do we want to angle more towards the continued replay of Kitty Pryde? Or we might even angle to do like a Killmonger maybe this turn. Killmonger this turn would kind of clear up our hand space a bit. Be able to do a Moon Girl next turn. We have the Angela, plus we could do double Kitty Pryde into the Angela lane each turn. And we'll have our potentially double death. I think this is the route that we want to take. This is going to clear up and reduce the cost of our death so dramatically. They cycle a Wasp. As long as they don't get a Professor X, then we should be A-okay. The Chavez looks intimidating, but it's honestly, it's fine. We do get Beast. I do always enjoy Beast bouncing Kitty Pryde back into our hand. But this is so much more enticing. Like, look at this. We'll have a double Angela, a double Kitty Pryde, a double Death, which right now is not huge. But at 3 cost, if we get 1 or 2 additional destructions, then it's perfectly fine. They do use Space Stone in Death's Domain, so now they can move a monster. They can move a Chavez. They can move their Lockjaw over into that lane. Oh my gosh, and then the Leech comes down, so we have to flood here if we want to make use of our cards. So Death is going to go back to... Death is no longer going to be reduced in cost. So I think we have to play it this turn. Oh, that's not great. That's definitely not great, but I think it's manageable. We're going to be able to do a double Kitty Pryde on the last turn. All of these are going to be abilityless, which does kind of stink. But that's all right. We're going to throw down the double Death, because otherwise we're not going to be able to use these two. I don't know if we want to split it or not. If they have a Shang-Chi, we're kind of at their mercy regardless. What do they move over into that Death's Domain? They move a Leech. All right, so what do we get here? Wave. Oh, Wave is going to make our Kitty Pryde so treacherous on this last turn. They do cycle back into Killmonger, so that is what is stuck here. We are hoping that they do not get like a Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi would just decimate us. We have the 6-power Kitty Pryde, but since they are all equal cost, we're going to lean in on a Chavez for this last turn. And I'm going to lean in on the Chavez in mid. If they have a Shang-Chi, we're losing regardless. If they don't, then the point differential should tie us in the Death's Domain, unless they get something like a blue Marvel. That wouldn't, I don't think that'd necessarily be marvelous. So they are rotating. Oh, Dr. Doom. Wait, as long as we keep the win in mid, we win the right lane. That was a bold call, Wang. You stuck it out. The Dr. Doom was incredibly close. It made sure that you had Death's Domain locked down. I think it was a bit hopeful, depending on what you had left in your deck. I think it was a bit hopeful. Maybe you had a Shang-Chi somewhere left in there. But we will take the 2 cubes. That one could have swung the other way. That one was definitely a tough match. They had some ideal lines with their Lockjaw, with their Leech coming down, getting the restriction in Death's Domain. Huge value. Luckily, we were able to hold it down. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Marble 47. Camp Lehi gives us a resource, a 3-cost resource, so Moon Girl becomes pretty clunky here. Moon Girl is one of those that we don't use often, but when we do, it is such a surprising element. We can either get a free... Oh my gosh, this may be one of those games where we do it. We have the Killmonger. Central Park allows us to essentially get a free death. And so then we can double down on that death on 4 and just profit from there. If they are running Galactus, then us doing a Killmonger is going to help them out. But that's, honestly, it's not as common as what you think it would be. Balance is much more common at this point. Statistics show that it's, I think, twice as common in comparison. Let's do Killmonger here. Quinjet, oddly enough, may help us out with the cards that are doubled by our Moon Girl. Oh, that's so unfortunate. I don't mean to laugh at your pain, Marble. They dropped an Ironheart because they had plenty of targets on the board, and then we cleared them all. My bad, Marble. Let's go with the Quinjet, the Yondu, and the Kitty Pryde. That is going to finish off the transition to make our death free. Next turn, we can do the Moon Girl. We don't necessarily need to skip on 5, so we have that flexibility now. Since we don't have the She-Hulk, we don't have to skip on 5 to soak. We have the flexibility to decide when and how and where we want to do our Moon Girl, whether it be on turn 4 or turn 5. And so they play a Wong. We have to look out for a couple of strong on reveals, potentially. We have to look out for things like White Tiger, things like maybe even Gambit into an Odin could be pretty detrimental. We'll see. Black Panther is big. Wow. If they have an Arnold Zola, that could be wild. That could end up being just a massive... that could end up being a massive Black Panther. But it's a... I guess it's a 2 out of 3 shot, right? I don't like it. But honestly, what are we going to do, right? Super strange. This is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do. The Arnim Zola, we're going to risk it. If the Arnim Zola hits correctly, then we can't beat it. There's no way that we beat that play line. But we are going to take the risk. I'm here for it. It's probably not the best risk. It is in their favor. They have 2 triggers of the Arnim Zola, and so it has 2 chances to hit Black Panther. So it hits Wong first. Now it comes down to a 50-50. Can we get the coin flip? Can we get the Ironheart coin flip, which will trigger a lot of time? We get the Ironheart trigger, so it's going to trigger 4 times across the board, which is still a lot of stats. We lose? We might win. Oh, that was so incredibly close in that right lane. I was so stressed about the hub location. Had one more trigger hit in that, had one more trigger hit over there, they would have had the hub. Had it hit their Black Panther, they would have had it hands down, no questions asked. That is one of those games that we should have retreated. We knew the odds. It was a 33% chance that we won, maybe even a little bit less with the Ironheart triggers, and then a 66% chance, or a little bit higher, that they won. We will take the 4 cubes. We didn't deserve these, but we were able to push out and pump out enough power that we were able to hold it down. All right, next up we have Iron Step. They're running Thanos as well. Thanos is... Why is Thanos everywhere? What is he doing? Why is he all over the place? I mean, maybe somebody tweeted a Thanos list, and maybe it's performing well, but the stats don't say that it's just absolutely incredible. So, I guess it is what it is. They play Reality Stone, the middle location turns into... The left location turns into Expansion. We now get Cloning Vat. And so we could do... our Demon. Do an Iceman elsewhere. Next turn, we can do a Demon plus Beast to bounce it back in. We're going to have a lot of Demons to flood on the board later on, or in the later stages of the game. We have our Killmonger, which most people are not going to anticipate when they see the inner workings or the beginnings of a bounce style deck. And so they become a lot more complacent, a lot more okay with just floating their cards. Let's go ahead and do this. It's going to be 3. When we play Demon, it's going to go up to 4. We're going to bounce back in the Hood, this Demon, and then this Demon would stay. We are going to eventually kill him, but I think that's what we're going to do. Either that or we can do a Carnage. The more times we destroy cards with Carnage, the better and lower cost our death gets. We can then continue to play that Demon every turn plus the Carnage, and Carnage is just going to continue to elevate in power. So I think that's the line we're going to go with. They drop a Killmonger, which helps our death out drastically. And our Carnage is going to say, I thank you, good sir. Like, wow, we get a Thanos against the Thanos list, and they get Electro. That is the retreat. I am so sorry, Iron Step, but we are going to snap on you, my friend. If we didn't have Cloning Vats, we would use a Moon Girl to double down on our death, but we just don't need to. This is what our tentative next turn play would look like, and it would be something like this. We would go ahead and show that we have the death so that we can get the extra +2 on Carnage, and we're okay with that. This is going to be a retreat, but I wanted to kind of plan out what we were going to play next. There's no way that they stay after the Electro came down. Like, I just can't see it. Wait, they said I'm confident. Are they going to follow it up with I'm losing? They stay. Whoa, wild. Maybe it's a Thanos Galactus? I don't know. If they have a null, okay, the Shang-Chi comes down. If they have a null somewhere, oh my gosh, they are going to just drop the hammer on us. So Death is now free. Our Demon, Death, Demon, Carnage to get him a little bit stronger. They didn't duplicate their Shang-Chi, so we're okay there. And then I think we just hit Monkey somewhere, right? Like, we played a lot of cards. We might as well hit Monkey and start swinging that lane in our favor, which I think we're going to do. I'm so surprised. They do have the null. Oh my god. The null plus the Electro is just so wild. We gave them all of the tools in their arsenal. We don't have a Shang-Chi of our own. Fortunately, we don't. There's just no way that we can overcome this massive behemoth of a man. They're running a Thanos null deck? Like, who does that? Bro, who does that? They're overcoming the Electro of all odds. All right, next up we have Tome. We have another Thanos list. I swear, somebody had to recommend a Thanos list. We start with our Demon, but looking at it, we really should have started with Kitty Pryde. No reason not to. We can do Kitty Pryde. We can do the Space Stone. We don't have Beast just yet, so I'm actually going to play both into the Daily Bugle. What we're looking for is either a Carnage, a Killmonger, something to be able to either replay or destroy those cards. And so they do replay their Kitty Pryde again. They used a Mind Stone in Vormir to draw additional cards. So, ooh, Vibranium Mines are kind of tough. We do get Angela, so feels weird, but let's go ahead and stack into the Daily Bugle. We have the consistent and reoccurring ability to drop our Kitty Pryde into the Daily Bugle location, so we don't have to worry so much about that spacing constraint. And then next turn, we can do something like Killmonger and then the Kitty Pryde, unless it looks like they're floating a lot of their one costs. And right now, it does look like they're floating quite a few of those one cost cards. So maybe we play this one a little bit differently, depending on what we draw here. They have Time Stone, so they could do a Professor X. They could use Professor X this turn, which is kind of scary, but at the same time is probably still fine. Let's go ahead and do the Demon, the Iceman. Actually, I'm going to do Killmonger and then Kitty Pryde. We changed our mind. We're going to do it in this order. That way we take out the Reality Stone. If they have any one costs that stay in Asgard, we can take care of that. The Devil Dino, we're not going to kill the Devil Dino. That's just such a big, large amount of power. They do get the Soul Stone. We do destroy their Kitty Pryde, so we do get that benefit. Our Death is also free. Free 99 is something that we will always gladly take. Now, we have our Moon Girl poised to be able to be played on turn 5. Unlike the constrictive playstyle of the She-Hulk, I think I've said this a few times, probably more times than you guys care to hear, but compared to the restrictive playstyle of the She-Hulk Double Down, we can double down on 5, which is so beneficial to us. We're going to go with the Moon Girl, the Iceman. That's going to double Death and our Demon. So then we'll have Kitty Pryde, we'll have Demon, we'll have 2 free deaths, and a Hit Monkey to lean in on the final turn of the game. Okay, so let's lock it in. As long as they don't have a Professor X, the arrow play is fine. The Moon Girl is not going to get pulled over into Vormir. We play Iceman, which is perfectly fine. We clear out that Vormir location, so now we can actually fight for it. And they're probably not going to be anticipating a free death. Why would you? Honestly, there's no reason to anticipate that we're going to be dropping a massive death or worse, 2 massive two deaths, massive deaths. Okay, so we have 18 power here. Is that enough? Or do we go something like this? The Hit Monkey is going to be huge, give us huge reach here. I think between the Death and the Kitty Pryde in this location, we should be okay. And then the Demon in this left lane, because I think they rotate a card and then play one big resource into one of the other lanes. As long as we can overcome those. They have an Odin, which does pull our Hit Monkey out, unfortunately. But we have so much reach everywhere else that it's going to be fine. I don't think we even need it. We win all 3 locations. It doesn't matter. We will absolutely steal the win away. Our hit monkey is just going to add insult to injury. We win mid by 12, left by 16, and right by 4. We will absolutely take the 2 cubes. Go ahead and jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Ixie. A little bit Ixie. First location is Murder World. We're going to avoid playing in that location unless we get something like Hood, Iceman, Yondu that we don't mind if it gets destroyed. We're going to prioritize playing our Kitty Pryde early and often. We do have Angela, so we could always play Angela. Next turn we can do Kitty Pryde plus Beast. That's going to make our Kitty Pryde free. Or we can go with just the Kitty Pryde this turn. Next turn we can do Kitty Pryde plus Beast. It's still going to be free. Angela is going to be a little bit lower power overall. But our Kitty Pryde is going to be a little bit bigger as a result. Now, this is beautiful. We don't care that these cards are going to get destroyed. I honestly don't care if we draw anything else for the rest of the game. We're going to have a free Kitty Pryde. We're going to have a free Kitty Pryde that we can use in Bar Sinister. It'll duplicate itself. A lot of them will pull into our hand. And then we can continue to just insanely high roll buff our Angela. We can even do Kity Pryde plus a Killmonger at some point. Might be worthwhile. All right, let's do it. We might be able to discount our death far enough that we can leverage the death as well. This is going to be beautiful. This is probably the ideal line. It's one of those abstract... Wait. Okay. I thought they had lost their dang mind. So they're running Forge, so it looks like they're running a Destroy deck, which is good for us. That makes our death even easier to discount. We have the Hit Monkey here. Beautiful value for us. Go Angela. Go Kitty Pryde here. Gonna give us 4 Kitty Prydes, a few bounce back into our hand, but not all of them. Unless, do they go Killmonger here? I mean, I guess if they go Killmonger here, we can do Moon Girl and double down on Death plus Hit Monkey. It won't be as beneficial, but a Death into Bar Sinister is nothing to snuff at. Hit Monkey and Bar Sinister is also really cool because then it buffs each one up, so it becomes really, really big really quickly. So we're gonna hope they don't do Killmonger this turn. After this turn, we're gonna have so many Kitty Prydes that it's fine. But if they do use it this turn, we're in a little bit of trouble because we're not gonna have any of those free resources to lean in on. Okay, so the Sabertooth, that is a lot of free saber teeth. A Null is gonna be something that is very scary here. This in the left lane has to be a 2-cost, so I'm thinking Bucky Barnes. Our death is free. We don't have to worry about having to run the Killmonger. That's fine. But where our issue lies is that if they have a Null, their Null is going to be so large. All right, we get 2 Kitty Prydes back in our hand. Is that right? No, we get 3. Okay, cool. We get 3 of the Kitty Prydes to come back into our hand. We can do something like Kitty Pryde, Kitty Pryde, Kitty Pryde. Or we could do Kitty Pryde, Kitty Pryde, Killmonger, as odd as it sounds, and then Kitty Pryde once again. That will make sure that we can maximize how many kitties we're going to maximize how many kitties we have returned into our hand. We can then flood all of them plus our Hit Monkey plus Death on the last turn to be just obnoxiously obnoxious. The Nova comes down. They have initiative now, so if this is the Killmonger play, it doesn't necessarily matter. Those Saber Teeth are just massive, though. Having that many free Saber Teeth, and they could have gotten more. They could have gotten a few more by playing it into Bar Sinister. Thankfully, they didn't. I'm still worried about a big Null, though. It's Kitty Pryde versus Null, which is wild. Wild that that this 1-cost can be so dang flexible. All right, so we get the Kitty Pryde. We clear some of the space. We get the new Kitty Prydes. We're going to pull all of those back into our hand. We're going to be able to play 6 cards. We're going to be able to play... Oh my... We're going to be able to play 6 cards. Good Lord. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to be able to play all 7 cards. Good Lord. No way. Oh, please let them let this go through. This is absurd. I don't even care if we win this one or not. We played. I think this is the only time I've had a completely capped out hand and played every single card that I had. So every single one of these hit monkeys are going to be 14. So it's going to be 14, 28, plus 14, 28. It's going to be like 56. A very substantially large Bar Sinister location. My God. They have the Sabertooth, they have the Death, and then they do have the Null that comes down. So I think we overpower them in this middle location, right? Because this is 10, 20, plus 2, plus 4, or plus 12, plus 4. That's very, very close, but we do overpower them in the middle location. Their 99 power from the Null is not going to be enough for the flood of hit monkeys that we're going to have. The 30s, the 26. Oh no, they all become 26 because it copies the 14. My bad. We are going to settle with a mere 90 power in the Bar Sinister lane, a mere 36 power in Lechugia, and then 33 power in Murder World. Good lord. What kind of game was this? This is nuts. Things like Bar Sinister, things like Shuri's Lab, just completely take Kitty Pryde's ability to just grow massively, absurdly large and just elevate it so drastically. Let's go ahead and take the 4 cubes, and that is where we are going to end this video. We can't go, there's nowhere up, there's nowhere else to go from here. We can't go any further up than we've already reached. And so we will go ahead and take it. And so I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a like and a comment down below. As always, this has been TLSG. Later, guys.